Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian, and in today's video we're going to go over this guy right here. Let's get to it. So finally, after about a year's worth of hard work and pain and suffering and a lot of choice words, this guy is finally done. Somehow I managed to get everything in this that I said I was going to do. I did a little bit extra to it too, and I got the paint work done. That was questionable at times, but I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. So let's take a closer look. In the last video, I went over the functions and the electronics and all the mechanical modifications that I had to make to get it where it's at right now. I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of revisit those really quickly and then get into some of the other work like the paint. So up front, we changed out the incandescent light to an LED light. We added the green marker lights up here, or classification lights. Added ash pan glow. Cut out the cab windows for a little bit extra detail. Installed LEDs for the firebox flicker and the cab light. On the back here, we added the marker lights and changed out the incandescent for the rear backup light and the warning light. And one final notable mention here was the addition of whistle steam. So those were all the functions that I had mentioned in the previous video that I was going to add to this. Now, there were some other things I did along the way, and let's check those out real quick. All right, so this angle is a little bit tough to get. I had to disconnect the tender so that we can get in here and take a look. I wish I could power up the lights inside, but with the tender disconnected, we can't do that. So I added the rear curtains here, the dust curtains, and added a piece of diamond plate flooring inside. Let's lift the camera up, see if we can get a better shot of that without getting my shadow in it. But I thought that was a pretty nice feature to add into there. And again, once the tender's connected up and it's running with the interior lights on and the firebox flicker going on, you can really notice that floor. It just looks really killer when it's going by. Another thing I added was a center roller to the tender. This just helps with signal integrity, with picking up the DCS signal from the track and routing it up to the tender board, which that's used for getting all the functions to operate and things like that. Now on to the paint. Well, I don't think I have to tell you guys this, but you cannot miss this locomotive going down the tracks around the layout. So I cannot take credit for this paint scheme. This was a Lionel offering, a custom Lionel offering, and that locomotive had inspired me to do this. When I first started with this, I seriously didn't know if I was going to pull it off or what it was going to look like. I just figured, let me start painting and see what the heck happens. Overall, it turned out pretty decent. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. And there was some trial and error with paints and things like that, but I finally got it dialed in and we got the colors down. I originally had planned on airbrushing this, and I found the perfect color to airbrush with. But again, I was having some difficulties with it. It was not the paint or the manufacturer or anything. It was all my doing. I'm a total noob to airbrushing, and I think I've realized that I need a lot more practice before I take on something like this, a project this size, and airbrush it. So what I did was resorted to rattle cans, and they worked out phenomenal. I took a trip over to my local auto paint supplier, and the crew there hooked me up. I brought in a box car, and let's get that guy over here. I brought in this one, and we spent some time looking at the color and color chips, paint chips, different angles for quite a bit of time. And I think we nailed it down. I had done some extensive research on these colors, trying to get them as close as I could, trying to find a name for them so I could even take that to the paint store. And I'll tell you what, everyone calls this Aspen Gold, but the paint that I found, the airbrush paint, which was from True Color, this is Chrome Yellow. And if you guys have the MTH Rio Grande diesels, the SD70s, this color is almost perfect for it. Now, I haven't tried actually touching mine up yet, but I did do some paint swatches and put it right up to it, and it was nearly darn perfect painted on a white surface. So if you guys need to touch up your locomotives, I would highly recommend just trying that. Pick up a bottle of that. They're fairly inexpensive. Again, great paint, great company, and you don't have to airbrush it. You can you can brush that on with a small fine paintbrush if you need to touch up an area or something like that. But do your due diligence. Take a little dab of it, put it on some white paper or white piece of plastic, white background before you try it on the actual locomotive, and then maybe even try it on an inconspicuous spot like on the bottom of it if you really need to touch up your SD70. So this is what I actually wound up using: spray can, simple spray can, and that paint is for cars, for automobiles. It is a solid paint. It's I haven't had any issues with smoke fluid on it or any kind of oil or anything like that. And I've been running this thing with smoke full blast. It's it gets all over it up in front here, and I wipe it down. No issues with bubbling or anything like that. And it just goes on so nice, especially on a nice warm day. Take advantage of warm weather if you're painting outside, which again, highly recommend. Don't paint inside with this stuff unless you have a some kind of filtration system or something. But the colors went down really nice. They dried quickly, and these are rock solid. These are really solid paints. So my lesson learned here with the paint was that I'm not quite ready to airbrush just yet, especially not airbrush something this size. The Coors train that I did, I'm happy with the way that turned out. I think that turned out pretty decent. Again, it was smaller size, and I was going with a flat paint on that. All right, so let's get into the decals now. So these black stripes up here are waterslide decals. There's a big boy up on the front here, which is also a waterslide decal. The numbers on the cab and the Rio Grande emblem here, waterslide. And then we'll get to the tender too, because it's a little hard to see from this angle. This white stripe here is hand painted. These are all hand painted. Again, all of the yellow and the green gray, that's another questionable color right there too. But those are all painted, obviously. This color, again, when I was at the store, the paint store, trying to find a color for this, we're going through, and I know a lot of people call it gray. It's got green in it, so I don't know what the heck this color is. Some interesting facts that I did find though on the yellow was one of the historical societies, I guess, for Rio Grande maybe, they did have a call out that Rio Grande kept chrome yellow in their shops. So it's the other reason I'm kind of thinking this is more of a chrome yellow and not an aspen gold. But again, that's my take on it, just with a little bit of research I've done and trial and error with the paint codes. Again, that chrome yellow paint from True Colors really looks like 100% match to this. I wish I could have used it, but again, I'm not ready to airbrush something this size just yet. But either way, I'm really happy with this color. I think we did a good job. I think the crew at the paint shop did a good job, rather. I give them all the credit of picking out the color. We went through a lot of different yellows, and I seriously didn't think there were so many different yellows. And again, they did have this as a paint chip, this grayish green, whatever the heck you want to call it, and that was matched off the boxcar as well. All right, so on to the tender. So this presented some challenges of its own. The first challenge was, how am I going to get this mountain painted on here? So I went back and forth, and I looked at a lot of MTH rolling stock, Lionel, Atlas, and the paint schemes on the Lionel SD70s as well. And I guess what I came up with was, as long as I had roughly 3 points on here, I'd probably be okay. The middle one had to extend up above the others. This side would have to have been in the gray, and this side would have had to have been in the yellow. So this is what I came up with. Now, I also did use the help of one of my trusty MTH pieces of rolling stock. I don't think I used this one. I think I used one of my other guys, but basically what I did was traced it on a piece of paper. Nothing too crazy there. And then from that, I cut out a template, and that's the template I used to paint. I was trying to remember what process I used here. I think I laid down the yellow first, and then the gray, and then the black last. And let's see, this line up here is painted as well, this black line. And on the bottom here, this is painted as well, below these 3 black stripes. These are decals, and the Rio Grande's decals as well, and this emblem as well. On the back side of the tender, I used white for the cab number and also for the tank capacity information as well. I didn't want that to really stand out with the black, so I wanted to go with like a white or silver, and I had white in the decal kit that I had, so I just went with that. So one thing I was going to do on this towards the end was I was going to try to put in a depleting coal load. I got some parts for it, and I was, again, going to do it, but I had the boiler done, This, I probably had laid down the yellow when I was thinking about doing that. And then I started looking to see how all this was taken apart, or how I would take all this apart rather. And the screws to get these little simulated wood extensions out, I guess that's just a one-piece thing in there. They're actually embedded down in the coal. So I think they installed this first and then put the coal load in on top of it. So I wasn't going to go digging all of that out. But I don't know, maybe it's something I'll do in future projects. We'll see. I do have some parts and some things to play around with. So who knows? Maybe I'll throw that in something coming up in the near future. All right, I'm going to give you a quick flyover, a quick drone shot of this guy. I'll take it off the stand here. All right, I apologize for my shaky hands up front here. The camera tripod in the way. But let's take a closer look at this. All right, well, that about wraps it up for this project. Thank you guys for following along with this build, and thank you to all the subscribers and your support in the channel. And until the next one, thumbs up.